Hi there, I'm Carly and welcome to The Last Grown Up in the Woods. Today I'm doing a VR to myself and talking about how to keep my camp safe from bears. Okay, to start off with, I thought I'd introduce you to my twin sister, who has the same name as me, Carly the Careless Camper. Hold on, let me go get her. I'm ready to go to bed. This is just dessert, by the way. I actually had a delicious trout for dinner, and I just threw the guts in the fire, let it cook off all the smell, and in fact I threw all my garbage in there. But it'll burn off in there, no problem. And I'm just going to keep this in my tent. I haven't seen any bears around. Now the nice thing about storing my food in my tent is that when I'm hungry in the middle of the night, I actually have access to my chocolate bars, which is awesome. Oh, good morning. I'm just heating up my oatmeal. It's so nice not having to go far from my tent to cook, since my food was right here. Hey, did you hear that sound? Uh-oh. Now don't worry about her, she was fine. She had to walk a couple days without food. So those are all excuses that I actually have heard. So they're not exaggerations. And it's careless. It's just careless. Keeping your camp bear safe can be a bit of a pain, and even a lot of state and provincial and national parks, the campsites aren't set up for keeping your area bears safe. They're set up with cooking spots right next to the tent pads. I've even seen ones with tent pads in a big circle around the fire ring, which seems like a good idea because, you know, with a communal fire pit everyone can share and be happy and meet each other. But if a bear comes into that area because he's looking for their food and all the wonderful cooking smells, and then looks up and notices that he's circled by these weird human tents, he's probably gonna freak out. So bad idea. And I completely blame the bureaucrats who work in offices and have no background in parks management and probably don't even camp. I'm not a bitter ex-park ranger, nope, not me. Okay, so let's talk food storage first. For many, many years, I've just thrown my food in a food bag and hung it from a tree. There's many ways to hang food from a tree. If you Google it, you'll find lots of examples. I've always done the laziest possible way. I've just always thrown a rope over a branch and pulled up my food bag, which sometimes results in not a very good bear hang, because a good hang should be 12 feet above the ground and 6 feet away from the trunk. And I guess a few feet below the branch that you're hanging from. Around here, any branches that are low enough and long enough are usually dead and they'll break, or they're in a tangle of other branches, so there's no way to throw the weighted end of the rope through it without getting tangled, or the tree's just too small, or there's no branches at all. So I know a lot of my bear hangs in the past haven't been very good, which is why it's extra important to make sure that you're hanging it a long way away from your camp. So at least if a bear gets your food, it won't get you. There are methods where you can pull the bag further away from the tree. Leaning trees can work okay as long as they're healthy. And then there's the bears who, especially in high visitation areas, have figured out that where there's a rope and that smell of tasty food, all they have to do is take a big swipe at the rope. So a lot of American national parks have now made these mandatory. They're bear canister. They're heavy and they're bulky because you have to fit this in your backpack. And as people get more and more ultralight, this is like some people's entire backpack. So what I now use is the Ursack. It's made from bulletproof Spectra fabric and is supposedly bear resistant. Drawstring that ties it up. You can knot it to a tree so the bear can't run off with it, which this one doesn't do. I suppose my food would get quite crushed and mangled, but that's okay because I'd still eat it. I assume that eating food infected with bear saliva gives me superhuman qualities, and I would love to be bear woman. That would be a sweet superhero gig. So we got these last year because we've been doing a lot of camping in the Alpine, but now I don't see a reason for not bringing it everywhere with me. You don't have to worry about as good of a bear hang. If it's really late and dark, you can just tie it to a tree. And I gave one away recently, and I've mentioned it a few times. So if you're interested, there's a link in the description. However, they're still not allowed in a lot of American national parks. So what goes into your food storage? Anything that smells. So that means your toiletries and your cooking stuff, and some even say the clothes that you cooked in. And I have done that once, but that's because I'd been fishing all day and my clothes smelled like fish, and somebody told me that there'd been a grizzly in my camp earlier that day. Also, if like you've spilled your food all over yourself and all your clothes smell like bacon, probably a good idea to not store that in your tent. Bear spray, when it's not being sprayed into a bear's face, is actually an attractant, and some people will tell you not to leave that in your tent. I take it in my tent with me. It just makes me feel safer. So your cooking area should be at least 100 yards or meters away from your tent, and where you store your food should be 100 meters from either of those, and that's 120 human steps or more. Some sources definitely say more. So doesn't it make sense to cook in the same place where you store the food so you can concentrate the smell? And the answer is no, because making delicious cooking smells right where you're storing your food is like putting up a bunch of signs for the bear that says free food this way. You want to draw the bear away from your food. Obviously your food bag is going to smell. Even if you have a scent-free bear container, they can smell it. But if you can get the smell further away, then they might not find your food bag. So hopefully the bear will just sniff around the food area and be like, oh, I can't find any food. I'm just going to go back to my house and eat some porridge. I hope it's cooled by now. Okay, so garbage. Don't burn it. It leaves a smell. And even if you're not camped close to that fire, the next person who comes along is going to see that fire pit and be like, hey, a fire pit! I'm going to set my tent up right here. Plus, things like tin foil or tin cans that end up in fire pits will do some serious damage if a bear comes along and eats them. And also to dogs. So if you love dogs, even if you don't like bears, don't burn your garbage. So your garbage should be up in your tree or in your bear canister or in the bear cache, or not somewhere where the bear can access. I mean, if you live in bear country, you probably have heard the term garbage bear. Those are bears who have learned that human garbage equals food, and they get habituated and used to humans, and are the ones that often end up doing the attacking of people, and we don't want that. That's why we have the saying that a fed bear is a dead bear. The other thing is, if you've left garbage or been a slob with your food and just left any kind of smelly mess behind, it's going to linger and be there for the next person, so you're endangering the people after you, and that's not cool, folks. That's not cool. Number 1, store food and anything that smells in a tree or a bear-proof container. Number 2 is make a magical 100-meter triangle of your tent, your cooking spot, and your food storage spot. Number 3 is don't be a slob, pick up food scraps and garbage and store them in your tree hang, and don't burn your garbage. And now it's time for Channel of the Week! This week's channel is Tom the Wildlife. He is a South African biologist, I assume, who knows a whole lot about wildlife. Has good quality videos and not nearly as many subscribers as he should. I mean, take a look at his trailer. I'll leave a link. And so if you wanted to see more videos from me, you can click here to subscribe. If you want to check out Tom the Wildlife, you can click here. And if you want to see some other videos, you can click on one of these. That's it this week. So long, and see you next week-ish.